Hello, welcome to Nightlight Science Stories. Tonight, we are going to talk about a psychotic episode you will have later this evening. You will hallucinate monsters. You will fly. You will talk to the dead. And then, you will wake up and forget it all. We call this dreaming, but neuroscience calls it a paradox. It is a state where your brain is more active than when you are awake, yet your body is paralyzed. It is the cinema of the mind. For centuries, we thought sleep was a passive state, like turning off a computer. We were wrong. When you close your eyes, your brain does not shut down. It shifts gears. It enters a high-energy state of construction, memory editing, and emotional therapy. To understand the physics of dreams, we must first accept that reality is nothing more than a hallucination that we all agree on. Dreaming is simply the hallucination where you are the only witness. We spend 1/3 of our lives in this state. If you live to be 90, you will have spent 30 years sleeping and 6 full years dreaming. That is an entire lifetime spent in a universe that disappears the moment you open your eyes. Yet, despite its importance, we still struggle to answer the basic question, why? Why does evolution demand that we lie unconscious and vulnerable for hours, hallucinating scenarios that never happened? The answer seems to lie in the architecture of the brain itself. During the day, you are bombarded with sensory data. Sights, sounds, conversations. Your brain acts as a sponge, soaking it all up. But a sponge cannot hold water forever. It needs to be squeezed. Dreaming is the process of wringing out the sponge. It is the sorting mechanism that decides which memories to keep as wisdom and which to discard as noise. It is biological data management. This data processing happens primarily during the stage called rapid eye movement, or REM sleep. It occurs about 90 minutes after you fall asleep. Your heart rate increases. Your breathing becomes shallow. And your eyes dart back and forth behind your eyelids as if you are watching a tennis match. This is the theater opening its curtains. In this state, your brain waves look almost identical to when you are wide awake and solving a math problem. You are awake on the inside, but dead to the world on the outside. This paradoxical state is where the magic happens. The brain begins to fire random electrical signals from the brainstem up to the cortex. These signals are nonsense static noise. But the human brain hates static. It is a narrative machine. So the cortex tries to interpret these random sparks by stitching them together into a story. That story is your dream. To keep you safe during these intense hallucinations, your brain performs a critical safety maneuver. It releases a cocktail of chemicals, specifically glycine and GABA, onto your spinal cord. This effectively paralyzes your skeletal muscles. You are trapped in your own body. This is called REM atonia. It prevents you from physically acting out your dreams. Without it, you would punch the wall every time you fought a dragon in your sleep. However, this mechanism is not perfect. Sometimes your mind wakes up before the chemical paralysis has worn off. You open your eyes, but you cannot move a muscle. Your chest feels heavy. And because your dream state is still bleeding into reality, your brain hallucinates a threat in the room. This is the scientific origin of the sleep paralysis demon, or the night hag. It is a glitch in the transition between two operating systems. Inside the dream, another strange chemical shift occurs. The prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for logic, reason, and impulse control, shuts down. At the same time, the amygdala, the center of fear and emotion, goes into overdrive. This explains why dreams make no sense. yet feel incredibly emotional. You can be in your childhood home, talking to a giant rabbit, and you accept it as absolute truth. You have lost your reality check filter. Without the logic center to say, "This is impossible," anything becomes possible. This state of transient hypofrontality allows for uninhibited creativity. This is why artists and scientists often find solutions in their dreams. The rigid rules of the waking world are suspended. The brain is free to connect ideas that would never touch each other in the light of day. It is pure, unfiltered association. But why are so many dreams nightmares? One leading theory is the threat simulation theory. It suggests that dreaming is an evolutionary virtual reality training program. Our ancestors lived in a world of constant danger. By simulating life-threatening situations, being chased, falling, fighting, the brain allows us to practice our survival reflexes in a safe environment. A nightmare is just a fire drill for the real world. Studies show that people who dream more about threatening situations tend to react faster to real-world threats. The anxiety you feel in a dream is a feature, not a bug. Your brain is intentionally stressing you out to toughen you up. It is putting you through a nightly boot camp so that when you face a real crisis, your neural pathways for fight or flight are already paved and ready to fire. Beyond survival, dreams are the architects of your identity. This is the memory consolidation theory. During the day, memories are stored in a temporary cache called the hippocampus. This cache is fragile and has limited space. During REM sleep, the brain replays these memories, strengthens the important connections, and transfers them to long-term storage in the neocortex. It is like moving files from RAM to the hard drive. But it doesn't just copy the files, it edits them. It strips away the boring details and keeps the emotional core. It also connects new memories with old ones. You might dream of your boss morphing into your father because your brain is filing the concept of authority figure into the same neural folder. Dreaming is the act of weaving today's experiences into the tapestry of who you are. There is also a physical cleaning process. While you dream, the space between your brain cells expands by up to 60%. This allows cerebrospinal fluid to rush through and wash away toxic proteins that accumulate during the day, such as beta amyloid. This is the glymphatic system. It is essentially a dishwasher for your brain. Dreaming is the cycle where the brain takes out its own trash. If you don't sleep, this trash builds up. The fog you feel after a sleepless night is literally the accumulation of metabolic waste in your neural tissue. Chronic lack of sleep prevents this cleaning process, which is linked to Alzheimer's and dementia. So the hallucinations of the night are the price we pay for a clean and functioning mind during the day. We dream to stay sane. Throughout history, cultures believed dreams were messages from the gods. The Egyptians had dream temples. The Greeks slept in sanctuaries to be healed by Asclepios. They weren't entirely wrong. Dreams are messages, but not from the gods. They are messages from your subconscious to your conscious self. They are the unsaid thoughts of the day bubbling up to the surface when the sensor is asleep. Freud called them the royal road to the unconscious. While his theories were obsessed with repression, modern psychology agrees that dreams reveal our hidden anxieties and desires. When the logic center sleeps, the emotional center screams. That recurring dream about missing a flight isn't about planes. It's about your fear of missing opportunities or losing control. It is a symbolic language we are trying to decode. As we close this first chapter on the biology of the night, we realize that the dreamer is both the audience and the projector. You build the world, populate it with characters, write the script, and then trick yourself into believing it is real. You are the ultimate storyteller. But there is a rare phenomenon where the audience stands up and walks onto the screen. What happens when the puppet cuts the strings? This is the moment the simulation breaks. It is the moment you look at your hands in the dream and realize they are melting. The logic center of your brain flickers back online, but the hallucination does not stop. You are now awake inside a world built of pure thought. You have become the god of your own private universe. The question is not just, am I dreaming? But what do I do now that I know? This state is known as lucid dreaming. It is a hybrid state of consciousness where the sleeper is aware they are dreaming while the dream is still happening. Scientifically, it is a paradox. Your brain is asleep, showing all the signs of urea matonia, but your gamma brain waves, associated with high-level cognitive processing and self-awareness, are firing as if you are wide awake. You are literally inhabiting two realities at once. For most people, this happens accidentally. Something in the dream seems off, a clock with no hands, a flying dog, or a book where the letters scramble. This anomaly triggers the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. Remember, this part usually shuts down during sleep. In a lucid dream, it reboots. It is the aha moment. Suddenly, the fear of the nightmare vanishes because you realize the monster is just a cluster of firing neurons. Experienced lucid dreamers use reality checks to trigger this state. They count their fingers. In a dream, the brain struggles to render complex geometry like hands. They might see 6 fingers or a melting palm. They try to read text. The language centers of the brain are disconnected from the visual centers during REM, so text in dreams often shifts and changes when you look away. These glitches are the red pills of the dream world. Once the realization hits, the experience changes from a movie to a video game. You can control the physics. You can fly, walk through walls, or summon objects. But holding on to this state is difficult. The brain wants to either wake you up fully or pull you back into the delusion. It requires a delicate balance of focus. If you get too excited, you wake up. If you relax too much, you lose lucidity and fall back into the script. Lucid dreaming was once considered a myth until Dr. Stephen LaBargue proved it in the 1980s. He knew that while the body is paralyzed during REM, the eyes are not. He trained subjects to enter a lucid dream and then move their eyes left, right in a specific code. It worked. The sleeper signaled from inside the dream world to the scientists in the waking world. It was the first time history recorded a telegram from the subconscious. This proved that the dreamer was conscious in tracking time, but time in a lucid dream can feel different. While studies show that counting to 10 in a dream takes roughly the same time as in reality, the perception of duration is warped. Because the brain creates the environment, a dream can simulate an entire day in what is physically only 20 minutes of REM sleep. You are processing information at the speed of thought. But navigating this world has rules. One of the most famous warnings in the lucid dreaming community is never look in a mirror. In the waking world, a mirror reflects light. In a dream, a mirror reflects your expectation. Since your brain has to construct your reflection from memory and emotion, it often glitches. You might see a distorted face, a monster, or a void. This can trigger a shock so intense it wakes you up instantly. The mirror paradox reveals that you are not just an observer. You are the architect. The environment responds to your emotional state. If you become afraid that the dream will turn into a nightmare, it immediately will. The monster appears because you feared it might. You are trapped in a feedback loop with your own amygdala. Control is an illusion. You are really just steering your expectations. This feedback loop is why therapists are now using lucid dreaming to treat PTSD. Instead of waking up screaming from a recurring nightmare, the patient is trained to become lucid. Once aware, they can turn around and face the attacker. They can ask the monster, "Why are you chasing me?" Often, the monster transforms or answers with a profound insight. By changing the ending of the dream, they rewire the trauma in the waking brain. This suggests that dreams are not just random noise, but a programmable interface for the psyche. Athletes use it to practice skills. Musicians compose songs. Since the neural pathways for performing an action are the same whether you do it physically or mentally, practicing a backflip in a lucid dream actually improves your muscle memory in real life. It is a biological holodeck for self-improvement. However, there is a dark side to this godlike power. Some people become addicted to the control. This is known as escapism. Why live in a boring reality where you have to pay taxes and obey gravity, when you can spend every night in a world where you are a flying superhero? Some lucid dreamers begin to sleep excessively, prioritizing their dream life over their waking life. The fantasy becomes more real than the reality. There is also the risk of false awakenings. You dream that you woke up, got out of bed, and started your day. Then, something strange happens, and you realize you are still dreaming. You wake up again. This can happen in loops. It creates a terrifying confusion where the dreamer no longer knows if they are actually awake. The line between the simulation and the physical world begins to blur. Even in a lucid dream, you don't have full access to your own mind. You can try to open a door in a dream house and find it locked. Why? It's your mind. Who locked it? This implies there are parts of your brain that actively hide information from your conscious self. The subconscious is not just a storage room. It is a separate entity that can resist your commands. You are the captain of the ship, but you are not the ocean. Ask a dream character a complex math question, and they will likely stare at you blankly. But ask them, "What am I afraid of?" And they might say something that makes you cry. The characters in your dreams are fragments of yourself, wearing masks. Interacting with them is a form of aggressive introspection. You are talking to your own fractured personality in a hall of mirrors. Lucid dreaming proves that the world you perceive is a construction. When you look at a red apple in a dream, there are no photons hitting your eye. Your brain is creating the redness, the shape, and the taste from scratch. This leads to a disturbing conclusion. If your brain can simulate a reality this convincing while you sleep, how do you know it isn't simulating the reality you are experiencing right now? The only difference between a dream and reality is continuity. The physical world has consequences that last. The dream world resets. But while you are in it, the pain feels real, the love feels real, and the fear feels real. The simulation is perfect. It is only when we wake up that we dismiss it as just a dream. But for the neurons firing in the dark, it was as real as this screen you are looking at. Science is now trying to bridge the gap. researchers are developing devices that can detect when you enter REM sleep and send mild electrical impulses to your scalp, TACS, to trigger lucidity. We are entering an era where we might be able to induce this state on demand. Imagine a future where you can plug into a machine and choose your dream scenario like a Netflix movie. The ultimate entertainment platform is your own cortex. But until that technology arrives, we are left with the natural method, the reality checks, the dream journals, the constant questioning of, am I awake? It is a discipline of mindfulness. To become lucid in your dreams, you must first become more lucid in your life. You have to stop living on autopilot and start noticing the details of your existence. We have explored the world where the mind is awake while the body sleeps, but there is an even stranger state. A state where the mind is asleep, but the body is wide awake. A state where people drive cars, cook meals, and even commit crimes, all while being completely unconscious. The paralysis we spoke of earlier can fail in terrifying ways. We are leaving the controlled chaos of the lucid dream and entering the dangerous territory of the sleepwalker. The lock on the body has been broken. The dreamer is no longer contained in the mind. They are walking among us. We must now look at what happens when the hallucinations escape the theater. While lucid dreaming is the mind waking up inside the dream, somnambulism, sleepwalking, is the body waking up without the mind. It is a biological error that occurs not during REM, but during the deepest phase of non-REM sleep, known as slow-wave sleep. In this state, the brain is barely conscious, emitting slow delta waves. Yet, the motor cortex, the part of the brain that controls movement, suddenly fires up and decides to take a walk. Scientists call this local sleep. It means that sleep is not a whole brain event. Parts of your brain can be awake while others are in a coma. In a sleepwalker, the primitive motor centers are fully online, navigating the house and opening doors, while the frontal lobes responsible for judgment, memory, and consciousness are completely offline. It is a zombie-like state where the hardware is running without the software. Because the judgment center is asleep, sleepwalkers perform automatic behaviors with zero logic. They might urinate in a closet, rearrange furniture, or eat raw meat from the fridge. This specific condition, sleep-related eating disorder, can lead to people consuming thousands of calories or even toxic substances while unconscious. They wake up the next morning with no memory of the feast, only to find the kitchen destroyed. The danger lies in the complexity of tasks they can perform. Sleepwalkers have been known to drive cars, ride horses, and even send emails. Their eyes are open, using visual input to navigate, but the brain is not recording memories. They are seeing, but they are not perceiving. It is a terrifying example of how much of our daily behavior is actually automated muscle memory that doesn't require conscious thought to execute. The most extreme cases involve violence. In 1987, a Canadian man named Ken Parks drove 23 kilometers to his in-laws' house and attacked them, killing his mother-in-law. He then drove to the police station, covered in blood, and said, "I think I killed someone." He had severe cuts on his hands that he didn't feel. Doctors determined he was asleep the entire time. His brain waves showed a chaotic mixture of deep sleep and wakefulness. This legal defense is known as automatism. The court accepted that Parks was not in control of his actions. His body was acting out a script while his moral compass was disconnected. He was acquitted. It raises a chilling philosophical question. If your body commits a crime while your consciousness is absent, are you responsible? It forces us to redefine the legal and moral boundaries of the self. While sleepwalking happens in deep sleep, there's another disorder that happens during REM sleep behavior disorder, RBD. Remember the chemical paralysis we discussed? In RBD patients, that paralysis fails. The lock on the spinal cord is broken. When they dream of being attacked, they don't just lie there. They punch, kick, and scream in real life. They are physically acting out the hallucination in real time. This is different from sleepwalking. Sleepwalkers are calm and zombie-like. RBD patients are violent and explosive. They are fighting for their lives in the dream world. This disorder is often a specific predictor of future neurodegenerative diseases like Parkinson's. Breaking of the sleep lock is one of the earliest signs that the brain's control systems are beginning to degrade. The opposite of this, where the lock works too well, is sleep paralysis. We touched on this earlier, but the night hag phenomenon deserves a deeper look. It happens when the mind wakes up, but the chemical paralysis, rematonia, has not yet cleared. You are fully conscious but trapped in a corpse. The panic this causes triggers the brain to explain the helplessness. It scans its database for reasons I can't move. Since you are paralyzed and struggling to breathe, because your breathing is still in shallow sleep mode, your brain hallucinates a heavy weight on your chest. Across cultures, this is interpreted as a demon, a witch, or an alien sitting on you. It is a universal human hallucination born from biology. The monster is not in the room. The monster is your own paralyzed nervous system interpreting a chemical error. Then there are night terrors, pavor nocturnus. Unlike nightmares, which are scary dreams you remember, night terrors happen in deep, non-REM sleep. The person screams in pure, primal terror, eyes wide open, heart racing at 180 beats per minute. But they are not awake. If you try to comfort them, they won't recognize you. They are stuck in a loop of pure fear activation without any visual dream imagery. The next morning, they remember nothing. It is a glitch in the transition between sleep stages, where the fear system turns on full blast while the rest of the brain sleeps. It is common in children because their nervous systems are still developing the ability to transition smoothly between sleep cycles. It is a raw, content-free panic attack generated by the brainstem. Less dangerous but equally mysterious is somnolake, or sleep talking. It can happen in any stage of sleep. Sometimes it is gibberish, sometimes it is full, coherent sentences. Interestingly, sleep talkers often use grammar and vocabulary that is more vulgar or aggressive than their waking personality. The social filter of the frontal lobe is off, so the ID speaks freely. You are hearing the raw, unedited stream of consciousness. Myths say you can't lie in your sleep, but that is false. Since the brain is hallucinating, sleep talkers often confess to things they didn't do or describe events that never happened. Their words are not a confession of truth. They are a narration of the dream. Trying to extract secrets from a sleep talker is useless because they are fundamentally unreliable narrators living in a fantasy. These parasomnias highlight a fragile boundary. We assume sleep and wake are binary states like a light switch. But science shows it is a dimmer switch. You can be 40% awake and 60% asleep. You can have a waking body and a sleeping mind, sleepwalking, or a waking mind and a sleeping body, sleep paralysis. The brain is a modular system, and the modules don't always sync up. This desynchronization can be triggered by stress, alcohol, or sleep deprivation. It reveals that our consciousness is not a single unified spotlight. It is a collection of flashlights. When they all point in the same direction, we are sane. When they scatter, we enter the twilight zone of parasomnia, where the monsters of the subconscious are given physical form. The existence of these disorders proves that the safety locks of dreams are the only thing preventing us from living out our fantasies. Every night, you are chemically restrained from acting on your impulses. Without ramatonia, our bedrooms would be battlegrounds. We are peaceful sleepers only because we are chemically straitjacketed by our own brainstems. We have explored the mechanics of the dream, the lucid control, and the breaking of the locks. But there is a deeper question we haven't answered. Where do the stories come from? Why do we dream about falling, or losing teeth, or showing up to work naked? Are these random firings, or is there a universal code to the symbols? We move from the hardware to the software, from the biology of the brain to the psychology of the mind. The content of dreams has fascinated humanity since the dawn of language. Is the falling dream a memory of our primate ancestors falling from trees? Is the naked dream a fear of social rejection? We are about to enter the library of archetypes. We will decode the universal script that runs in the minds of billions of people every night. Why do we all share the same nightmares? And what is your subconscious trying to tell you when it makes your teeth fall out? We leave the biology of the broken locks to enter the theater of shared symbols. Across every culture, age, and era, humans report the exact same specific dreams. We all fall. We all lose our teeth. We all show up to school naked. Carl Jung called this the collective unconscious, a shared library of archetypes inherited from our ancestors. Modern science calls it evolutionary scripting. These are not random glitches. They are legacy code. The fact that a banker in New York and a farmer in rural China both dream of being chased by a predator suggests that the script was written long before civilization existed. These dreams are fear simulations designed to keep us alive. Your brain is running ancient survival scenarios in a modern world. It is testing your reflexes against threats that no longer exist, using the language of symbols to communicate primal urgency. Take the sensation of falling. It often happens just as you drift off. You jerk awake, heart pounding. This is the hypnic jerk. Evolutionary biologists believe this is a primal reflex left over from when our ancestors slept in trees. If a primate's muscles relax too much, they might fall from the branch. The brain interprets the relaxation of sleep as a literal fall and sends a wake-up shock to the muscles to catch the branch. You are waking up to save yourself from a fall that isn't happening. It is a ghost reflex from millions of years ago. In the dream narrative, falling represents a loss of control in your waking life. It is the physical manifestation of insecurity. When you feel groundless in your career or relationships, your brain accesses the falling from tree file to dramatize that emotion into a physical sensation. The most common nightmare is being chased. You run, but your legs feel like lead. The monster is always just behind you. This is the threat simulation theory in action. Your brain is forcing you to practice evasion. The reason you run slowly in the dream is likely due to the ramatonia we discussed. Your brain is sending the command run, but your legs are paralyzed in bed. The dream interprets this lack of feedback as running through mud. The identity of the pursuer changes. A monster, a killer, a storm. But the feeling is identical. It represents avoidance. You are running from a problem in your waking life that you refuse to face. The closer the chaser gets, the more urgent the problem is. The dream is not trying to scare you for fun. It is screaming at you to turn around and confront the issue. It is a stress test for your courage. Then there is the visceral horror of teeth falling out. You look in a mirror and they crumble into dust. This dream is incredibly common and disturbing. One theory links it to bruxism, grinding your teeth at night due to stress. The physical sensation of pressure on the jaw is interpreted by the dreaming mind as the teeth breaking. It is a sensory incorporation error. The brain feels pain and invents a story to explain it. Psychologically, teeth represent power and confidence. They are our primary weapon and our tool for speech. Losing them symbolizes a loss of voice or agency. It often occurs during times of major life transition or feelings of powerlessness. It is the fear of aging, the fear of losing face, or the fear of saying something you regret. Your subconscious is showing you a physical image of your social vulnerability. The dream of being naked in public is the ultimate social anxiety simulation. You are at work or school and suddenly realize you are unclothed. No one else seems to notice at first, which adds to the tension. This is the imposter syndrome of the subconscious. It reflects the fear of being exposed, of people seeing who you really are underneath the social mask. It is the fear that your secrets are visible. Evolutionarily, clothes are protection. To be without them is to be defenseless. This dream usually strikes people who are trying to hide a flaw or who feel unprepared for a new role. It is your brain asking, can you survive if you lose your armor? The shame you feel in the dream is a rehearsal for social rejection, training you to conform to the tribe's rules to ensure survival. Not all scripts are nightmares. The flying dream is a universal favorite. Unlike the others, this is often a lucid experience. You realize you can lift off. This sensation may come from the body's lack of sensory input during sleep. You are not feeling gravity on your feet, so your brain interprets this weightlessness, this flight. It is the only time a human can experience true three-dimensional freedom. Psychologically, flight represents liberation. It occurs when you have solved a difficult problem or escaped a restrictive situation. It is the brain's reward system firing dopamine. You are literally rising above your obstacles. It is the antithesis of the falling dream. If falling is loss of control, flying is the ultimate mastery of your environment. It is the superhero fantasy encoded in our biology. Even decades after graduating, people dream of failing an exam. You show up for a test you didn't study for a class you never attended. This is the unpreparedness script. School is the first place we are judged by society. It is our first high-stakes environment. The brain imprints this trauma deeply. When you face a challenge at work as an adult, the brain retrieves the exam file to represent the stress. It is a perfectionist's nightmare. It warns you that you are not ready. But interestingly, people who have this dream are often high achievers. The brain is over-preparing you. By making you feel the horror of failure in the safety of the dream, it motivates you to work harder in reality. It is a negative reinforcement loop designed to ensure competence. Some dreams don't just happen once, they repeat. The recurring dream is a stuck record. It is a message your subconscious keeps sending because you haven't opened it yet. It represents an unresolved conflict. Unlike the random firing of neurons, recurring dreams are structured and persistent. They are your brain trying to solve a specific puzzle that you are ignoring during the day. Research shows that once the dreamer solves the waking life issue, quits the job, ends the relationship, confronts the trauma, the recurring dream disappears instantly. The file is closed. The brain no longer needs to run the simulation. This proves that dreams are not just passive entertainment. They are active problem-solving attempts. They are a nagging notification on the screen of your mind. While the symbols are universal, the setting is personal. Your brain builds these sets using day residue, bits and pieces of your recent memory. It takes the face of a stranger you saw on the subway and casts them as the villain. It takes the layout of your childhood home and uses it as the stage. It is a master of recycling. Nothing in a dream is truly original. It is a collage of your past reassembled into new meaning. This recycling efficiency is why dreams often feel so weirdly familiar yet alien. It is your life, but remixed. The brain is testing new combinations. What if I put my boss in my mother's kitchen? What if I put a tiger in my office? It is running what-if scenarios to expand your cognitive flexibility. It is creativity without the brakes of logic. We have decoded the symbols of the present and the past. But what happens when the dream seems to show the future? Many people report Déjà Rêvé, the feeling that they have dreamt a moment before it happened. Is this just a coincidence, a trick of memory, or is the sleeping brain actually capable of predicting future probes? We will push the boundaries of physics. We will explore the phenomena of precognitive dreams. Can the brain simulation engine be so accurate that it predicts reality? Or is it a temporal illusion caused by a glitch in how we store memories? We are about to question the arrow of time itself. History is filled with claims of prophecy. Days before his assassination, Abraham Lincoln reportedly told his bodyguard about a dream where he walked through the White House and found a corpse guarded by soldiers. When he asked who died, they said, "The president." Was this a message from the future? Or was it simply the anxiety of a man living in a violent civil war, processed by a brain that deals in worst-case scenarios? Science calls this the law of large numbers. There are 8 billion people on Earth. If everyone dreams one scenario every night, statistically, someone will dream of a plane crash the night before a plane actually crashes. It is a mathematical certainty, not a mystical one. We ignore the billions of dreams that don't come true and obsess over the one that does. We are pattern-seeking machines, desperate to find order in chaos. However, dismissing it all as coincidence might be too simple. Your brain is a predictive processing engine. It constantly collects data that your conscious mind ignores. The subtle vibration of a car engine, the slight cough of a family member, the tension in a room. You don't notice these details, but your subconscious does. It files them away. When you sleep, the brain runs simulations based on this hidden data. If you dream your car breaks down, and then it does, it wasn't magic. Your subconscious noticed the engine sound weeks ago and ran a simulation of the likely outcome. It is not seeing the future. It is calculating the future based on a massive dataset you didn't know you had. The prophecy is actually just a very advanced, high-speed calculation performed by the silent observer in the back of your head. This calculation power is why some of the greatest scientific discoveries happened in dreams. Dmitri Mendeleev was struggling to organize the chemical elements. He fell asleep and dreamt of a table where all elements fell into place as required. He woke up and wrote down the periodic table. Elias Howe invented the sewing machine needle after dreaming of warriors with spears that had holes in the tip. This is incubation. When you hit a wall in waking life, your logical brain is too rigid to find the answer. In the dream state, the logic filters are off. The brain can test wild, irrational combinations that the waking mind would reject. It is not receiving information from the ether. It is finally connecting the dots that were already there. The dream is the moment the solution migrates from the subconscious to the conscious. But what about the feeling of, I have dreamt this exact moment before? This is a rêve, already dreamed. Unlike déjà vu, already seen, this comes with a specific memory of a dream. You are in a conversation, and suddenly you are hit with the conviction that you scripted this dialogue in your sleep 3 months ago. Is it a glitch in the matrix? Neuroscience suggests it is a glitch in your memory filing system. It is likely a memory association error. When you experience the moment, your brain accidentally files the incoming sensory data directly into long-term memory instead of short-term memory. It feels like a memory because your brain is telling you it is old data, even though it is brand new. To make sense of this, your mind invents a backstory. I must have dreamt it. It is a retroactive lie to explain a neurological timing error. However, there is a fringe theory in physics that leaves the door open. If we live in a block universe where past, present, and future exist simultaneously, as Einstein's relativity suggests, then the future is just as real as the past. Is it possible that in the quantum chaos of the dream state, the mind can briefly access information that is located further down the timeline? This is the realm of retrocausality. While controversial, some experiments suggest that the brain prepares for images before they are shown. If time is symmetric, information might flow backwards. A dream could theoretically be a memory of tomorrow, but until we can prove this, the skeptical explanation remains the strongest. You dream thousands of things. You only remember the ones that match reality. You are the sharpshooter who paints the target after the bullet has hit. The danger of believing in prophecy is the self-fulfilling prophecy. If you dream you will fail an exam, you wake up anxious. That anxiety makes you unable to study. You fail the exam. You tell yourself, the dream knew, but the dream didn't know. The dream caused it. The belief in the simulation altered your behavior in the real world to match the simulation. You are the puppet master of your own doom. This is the nocebo effect of the dream world. Just as a sugar pill can cure pain if you believe it, placebo, a nightmare can cause failure if you believe it, nocebo. The brain does not distinguish well between a visualized failure and a real failure. If you rehearse tragedy every night, you are priming your nervous system to manifest it. The script becomes reality because you act it out. This is why recording dreams is so revealing. Most people forget 95% of their dreams within 5 minutes of waking. The prophecy you swear you had might just be a false memory constructed in the moment of déjà vu. But if you write it down immediately, you create a time-stamped record. People who keep dream journals often find that their predictive dreams are actually vague metaphors that they retrofitted to fit the event. Something bad will happen to a friend is a vague prediction. When a friend gets a flat tire a week later, you claim accuracy. This is the Barnum effect, the same psychological trick used in horoscopes. The dream provides a blurry shape, and your desperate desire for meaning fills in the specific details. We want the world to be magical, so we edit the data to make it so. Yet, we can use this simulation for good. Athletes use lucid rehearsal. By visualizing a perfect race in a dream, they activate the same motor neurons as running. They are hacking the prediction engine. Instead of letting the brain predict failure, they force it to predict success. They are right in the prophecy themselves. This suggests that the future is not something you see. It is something you build in the dark. This leads to the concept of incubated dreaming. Artists like Salvador Dali and writers like Mary Shelley, Frankenstein use this. They would hold a spoon while sleeping in a chair. When they drifted off, the spoon would fall, waking them up. They would capture the hypnagogic imagery immediately. They were mining the borderland between prophecy and hallucination to extract pure creativity. The dream state reveals that our perception of time is fragile. In a dream, a minute can feel like an hour. Events happen out of order. Cause and effect are broken. This chaos suggests that the linear time we experience while awake is a construct of the conscious brain. It is a filter. Dreaming is what happens when the filter is removed, and we experience the raw, timeless soup of existence. Perhaps the future is just another room in the house of the mind that is usually locked. Or perhaps the dream is the only real thing, and waking life is just the dream that is stubborn enough to persist. As we approach the end of our journey, we must confront the ultimate question. If the simulation is this good, how do we know we ever actually woke up? We have explored the biology, the psychology, and the physics of the night. We have seen how the brain paralyzes the body, hallucinates monsters, and predicts the future. We know that reality is just a sensory hallucination constrained by physics, while a dream is a hallucination constrained by nothing. The line between the two is thinner than we admit.
We assume that waking up is the return to truth. But what if it is just a change of channel? What if the dreamer and the waking self are just two different characters played by the same consciousness? In our final chapter, we will ask the question that has haunted philosophers for millennia. Is life itself a long, coherent dream from which we have not yet awakened?
We end our journey with the most dangerous idea of all. The ancient Chinese philosopher Chuang Tzu once dreamt he was a butterfly, fluttering about, happy and free. Then he woke up. He asked a question that has haunted thinkers for 2,000 years. Am I a man who dreamt of being a butterfly? Or am I a butterfly now dreaming that I am a man? This is not just poetry. It is a valid neurological question. How do you define real? If reality is defined by sensory input, what you see, hear, and touch, then there is no difference between a dream and waking life. In both states, the brain processes electrical signals. You have never touched the physical world. You have only touched the electrical echo of the world inside your skull. If you can emulate a world at night that feels physically real, who is to say that the world you are seeing right now is not just a persistent simulation? This is the simulation hypothesis. Philosophers argue that if a civilization becomes advanced enough, they will create realistic simulations of their ancestors. Since there would be billions of simulations and only one base reality, the statistical odds are that you are living in a simulation right now. Dreams might be the loading screens or the creative mode of this program. where the physics engine is relaxed and the user can experiment. When you wake up from a dream, the logic of the dream instantly falls apart. You say, "How silly, I was flying." But what if you wake up from this life, perhaps at the moment of death, and look back at your job, your taxes and your worries, and say, "How silly, I thought I was a human." To transition from dream to wakefulness suggests that there could be layers of consciousness we cannot perceive until we ascend to the next one. The only thing that distinguishes waking life from a dream is continuity. This world follows strict laws of physics and cause and effect, but quantum mechanics challenges this stability. The observer effect suggests that particles do not have a definite state until they are measured. The universe exists as a wave of probability until consciousness looks at it. This sounds suspiciously like a video game that only renders the room you are standing in. Is the universe rendering reality only where you look? In a dream, the world behind you doesn't exist until you turn around. Quantum physics hints that the waking world might operate on similar, albeit more complex rules. We assume the moon is there when we don't look at it, but we can't prove it. We are navigating a reality that seems to require a conscious observer to collapse the wave function into solid matter. This leads to the terrifying trap of solipsism, the idea that only your mind is sure to exist. Everyone else might be a dream character generated by your subconscious to keep you company. In your nightmares, the monsters feel independent, but they are you. In this life, your friends and enemies feel independent, but what if they are just fragments of a larger dreamer? It implies a cosmic loneliness, or perhaps a cosmic unity. If we are all one consciousness experiencing itself subjectively, then life is just a shared lucid dream. We are the universe wearing different masks, playing a game of hide and seek with itself. When we hurt others, we are hurting ourselves. When we love others, we are loving ourselves. The dream state reveals this interconnectedness, dissolving the ego and showing us that the boundaries between me and you are illusions. Some researchers point to endogenous DMT, a powerful psychedelic compound found in small traces in the human brain, as the bridge. It is chemically similar to serotonin and is released during high-stress events, potentially birth and death. Users of DMT report waking up to a higher reality that feels more real than real. Is it possible that the brain has a built-in chemical gateway to exit the simulation? Perhaps dreaming is a microdose of this exit. Every night, we dip our toes into the quantum soup of potentiality. We leave the rigid, Newtonian world of solids and enter the fluid, Einsteinian world of energy. We practice dying. We practice being pure consciousness without the heavy anchor of the physical body. Sleep is not a waste of time. It is a nightly return to our source code. The purpose of the dream, then, is not just to file memories or clean toxins. It is to remind us of our power. In a dream, if you believe you can fly, you fly. If you believe you are trapped, you are trapped. The environment responds instantly to your belief. Waking life is slower, denser, and harder to manipulate, but the principle might be the same. Your beliefs shape your reality, just with a longer delay. We are dreaming awake. We build cities, write laws, and start wars based on ideas that exist only in our collective imagination. Money is a dream we all agree on. Nations are lines drawn on a map in our minds. We are constantly projecting our internal world onto the external canvas. The difference is that in the waking dream, we have to convince 7 billion other dreamers to agree with our version of the story. As we age, time seems to speed up. The dream of life accelerates. This is perhaps the final mercy of the brain. It prepares us for the ultimate waking. We spend a third of our existence in the shadow realm to learn that the shadow is safe. We learn that when the scene changes, the actor remains. The character you play in the dream dissolves, but the observer, the you that watches the dream, survives. That silent observer is the only thing that is truly real. It is the witness behind your eyes right now. It is the same witness that watched your childhood dreams and will watch your final breath. It is the constant in a universe of variables. Everything else, your body, your name, your memories, is just the script of the current episode. The screen remains white after the movie ends. So why do we dream? We dream to remember that we are creators. We dream to escape the prison of physics. We dream to touch the dead and predict the future. But mostly, we dream to prove to ourselves that reality is malleable. If you can build a universe in your sleep, what can you build when you are awake? The physics of dreams is the physics of potential. You are a biological machine capable of simulating infinity. You carry a portable universe inside your skull. Do not underestimate the visions of the night. They are not lies. They are alternative truths. They are the blueprints of what could be. The dream is not a break from reality. The dream is the laboratory where reality is engineered. So tonight, when you close your eyes, do not think of it as turning off. Think of it as logging out. You are leaving this server to explore the private sandbox of your own mind. And tomorrow morning, when the alarm rings, ask yourself, are you waking up to reality? Or are you just falling asleep into a much longer, much more consistent dream called life? Perhaps death is the only moment we truly wake up. Until then, enjoy the show. Keep your eyes open, even when they are closed. And remember, if you can control the dream, you can control the waking. The lucid life is waiting for you.